Hello everyone, we're here to learn how to factor quadratics. This is something that shows up in calculus classes, algebra classes, and other classes, so this should be a useful video for quite a few people. Now, here's what a general quadratic equation looks like. Ax squared plus bx plus c. And before I go too further, you can get this document in the Google Doc link in the video description so you can print this and work with us. Okay? Now, factoring is dependent upon these signs, okay? The first sign you need to look at is this one, because that determines the signs that go here. So we're going to start, what if the second sign is positive, okay? So if the second sign is positive, what that tells me is that both factors will have the same sign. Since the factors are positive, the second sign is positive, both factors will have the same sign. Now, it's not hard to figure out what that sign is. And the reason being is it will always be the first sign. So the first sign is what you use. So when I go to factor this one over here, since the first sign is positive, both factors are going to be positive. Okay, so I'm going to set this one up. It's going to be x plus and x plus. And I was a bad person and did too much writing over here, but this one over here, since that sign is negative, will be x minus and x minus. Okay? The other skill you got to do is you got to take the numbers on the right end and make kind of a factor tree out of them. Okay? Now, I set this up so we have the same numbers every single time. 10. That way we get a good feel for how this works, and we won't have trouble in a few minutes. So 10 can be factored as either 1 and 10 or 2 and 5. Okay? Another thing about this, when the second sign is positive, you're going to add these to get the middle number. So 1 plus 10 is 11. 2 plus 5 is 7. So we're using 2 and 5. So if the second sign is positive, both signs will be the same, and you add to get the middle number. So this one's kind of easy. I can just put 2 there and 5 there, 2 there and 5 there, since I found it. And it's factored. And that's not all that bad to do. Now what happens when the second sign is negative? What happens then? Okay? Well, the factors will have opposite signs. So if the second sign is negative, we'll have opposite signs. So when I go to factor this one over here and this one here, they're going to have opposite signs. So this will be x plus and x minus. This will be x plus and x minus. Now, the sign on the first one is the sign of the largest factor. So the first sign will be the sign of the largest factor. So again, my factor tree for this one is 10. And 1 times 10 or 2 times 5 gives me 10. Okay? When the second sign is positive, you add to get the middle number. So when the second sign is negative, you subtract for the middle number. Okay? So we're going to subtract from middle number. Okay, so 1 minus 10 is 9, 2 minus 5 is 3. I'm not worried about the sign here because the sign gets taken care of over here. Okay, so I'm just worried about the value of the number here. 3, and you look, this one has a 3, so I'm using the 2 and the 5. Now, since that sign is positive, the 5 will be positive, so I put the 5 here and the 2 here. Over here I got 3, so I'm using the 2 and 5 again, but since this sign is negative, the 5 gets the negative, and the 2 goes there. So that's how you factor in general. And I use the same equation over and over again so we can see how this works. What we're going to do now is we've got 3 on the next page to practice this with that are not the same equation over and over and over again. Okay? So, wrong direction. Let's zoom this in a little bit so we can fill the screen a bit better. This one right here, I'm going to do x squared minus 4x plus 33. Now, this sign is positive, so both signs will be the same. And I'm going to add for middle number. So both signs are going to be the same. I'm going to add for the middle number. Okay? And I can see something's bleeding through. I got enough light in here that things will bleed through if I'm not careful. So let me set that aside. Okay, so both signs will be the same. I'm going to add for the middle number. Now I'm going to take this 33 and make a factor tree. So 33 can be 1 and 33 or 3 and 11. Okay? And since the second sign is positive over here, I'm going to add for middle number. So 1 plus 33 is 34. I did that poorly, so let's put it over here. 3 plus 11 is 14. Since my middle number is 14, I'm doing the 3 and 11. Okay? Now I want to go to write my factors over here. That's a minus sign, so they're both negative, and I can just put the 3 and the 11 in here. Because I don't have to worry about which one's which, picking out which order they go in. Nothing. Since the second sign is positive, it works real nicely. So let's go down to this next one. And we'll notice the second sign this time is negative. So we're going to have opposite signs. Okay. We're going to subtract from middle number. Okay, let's draw a line separating our problems. And this sign over here is negative, so the large factor is negative. Okay, so my large factors are going to be negative. Now let's take 21 to make our factor tree. 21 is 1 and 21 and 3 and 7. We're going to subtract, that gives me 20. Subtract it gives me 4. Since my middle number is 4, we're using this one. So I go to factor this one, and remember the big number matches that sign, so it's going to be x minus 7 and x plus 3. And that's how you factor that one. Okay? Now, this is all fun and games until you get to a hard one, and I have to put a hard one in here because some people don't know when to quit. Okay, it's more, well, that's a discussion for another day, teacher behaviors, because not all of them behave well. Quite a few of them behave pretty poorly, actually. Now, there's a number in front of the x squared term. I'm going to have to factor that out. Factoring is not easy with a number in front. So I'm going to factor the 4 out, and fortunately for this one, it does factor out real nicely. And 96 divided by 4... Okay, I like to divide everything by 2. So 96 divided by 2 is 48. And if we divide 48 by 2, we get 24. So this is going to be minus 24 on the end. Okay? Now, plus sign at the beginning, minus sign second. This minus sign right here again means we're going to have opposite signs. Okay? We're going to subtract from middle number. And the large number is negative. Okay? So now we're going to make our factor tree for 24. Now earlier, most of these I picked had pretty simple factor trees, and I didn't want to leave it that way all the way through. 24 can be 1 and 24, 2 and 12, 3 and 8, 6 and 4. There's lots of options that'll give me 24 when I multiply them. And since I'm subtracting from the middle number, this one will give me 23, this one gives me 10, this one gives me 5, and this one gives me 2. My middle number is 2, so I'm using this one. Okay? And when I go to factor, remember, the big number is positive because the first sign is positive. So it'll be x plus 6, and then x minus 2. Okay? I hope this is helpful. A rundown on how to factor quadratics. Comment, like, subscribe, whatever makes you happy. Hope you have a good one.